Oh, and I love Virginia.
I told you you wouldn't be disappointed if you came.
Yeah, no, I haven't been. Yeah, it's been great. I'm in a nice little inn. There was a fire going in my room when I walked in. I was like, this is fantastic.
Well, thanks for being such an amazing audience. I mean,
yeah, seriously. I watched the last half from up there, and it was amazing. I mean, not the film, you guys.
We'll start, I guess, I'm sure everybody's interested where you got the idea for the movie. You know, like, because it's such a interesting, you know, there's so many characters, and they were interwoven so beautifully, and, you know, it'd be great for them to hear what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't, hi everyone, by the way. I didn't initially intend to direct the movie. I was trying to, you know, I'm an actor, and I was trying to write myself a great role in a movie. They won't give it to me. I'll write it. And so I wrote the character of Sam for myself. I had 3 really big ideas that you know, I've never read a screenwriting book or taken a class in screenwriting, but I kind of felt like it wasn't my first screenplay, but I feel like I've digested enough film vocabulary just from watching so many movies and acting for so long. I kind of knew what the components that went into a scene. As an actor, I knew kind of how to write something that felt good, at least from my perspective, to be able to say. And also kind of film vocabulary, I kind of just, there were certain things that I knew I could do. So I had these big ideas. One was, guy late for a meeting, gets stuck with a kid who gets separated from his family on Subway. The second one was I wanted to base a character on my friend Rachel, who has alopecia. She's just an amazing person in my life, and I always thought she would be a great character in a movie. And the third idea was, one time I was driving with Rachel, and she played me this old Candor and Ebb song called Sing Happy, and she was singing it at the top of her lungs as we were driving, and it just stuck with me as like this great song that felt like her. So I thought, okay, and someone's going to end the movie singing that song. And that's all I had. I didn't know what else was going to happen in the movie. So it was kind of like I had a beginning, I had an end, and then I kind of was like, well, how do I get there? Who's going to sing? And then I introduced this character of Mississippi because I had the idea for like the 3-day contract, and then I was like, she's a cabaret singer, he won't hear her sing, it's a metaphor for intimacy, bam! Like it all kind of, you know, you just kind of connect these dots. And then I started writing, my producer Jesse Hara, he asked me to write a kind of love letter to LA, because he thinks LA is great. I actually like LA, but I do. And
he does. Can I out you? He lives there.
I live there. I'm such a fake New Yorker. I lived in New York for years, but I now live in Los Angeles. It's just better to set movies in New York. It just is. So I started writing this argument between a couple about New York and LA, and that's all I had. And then I was like, it was like a chef. I was like, well, I've got this stew going, and what if I added in some of this? And then I added Charlie and Mary Catherine into the mix, and then it all kind of felt like thematically unified somehow. I mean, I had to help that along, but it felt like it was of a piece, and it was all about, you know, love and intimacy at different stages. And I thought Charlie and Mary Catherine were really important because if they're not in it, it's kind of a movie about dating, but it's not really a movie about dating. It's about, you know, love or allowing yourself to be loved. I mean, that's reductive, but at different, you know, stages. So I don't know, that's how the movie happened. And then I did a ton of readings in New York and LA with actor friends, and then at a certain point, I don't remember the exact moment, but it was kind of like, okay, now I'm directing it. The tone's very specific. I was nervous about someone else coming in. I didn't want to be the screenwriter / actor, like going, can I just say one more thing to the actors? And I'd be like this super annoying on-set presence. So I just decided, well, I'll do everything.
One question about, and I'll tell a story after you answer the question.
Does it have something to do with this movie? Or just the randoms?
No, actually. What are your theories on Jefferson? No. You wrote this movie, you directed this movie, and you starred in this movie. What was it like directing yourself, and how did you find that challenge, and would you want to do it again, or after directing your first film, would you like to direct only other people?
I longed for the days when I wasn't scheduled to work, that I could just be a director. And I feel like like I have what I call actor DNA, which is this fear that the job you currently have will be your last one ever. And I think a lot of actors have that no matter what stage they're at. So there's always a part of me that was like angling to get out of acting. It's like the mafia or something. I gotta get out, I gotta get out. One more job, alive. Yeah, get out alive. So I like that I kind of laid the groundwork for this kind of writing, directing stuff, but there's a part of me that like I still love acting and I still love doing it, and I especially love it if I really trust the material. And that sounds obnoxious because I'm saying like, when I write it, I really trust, but I don't like doing crappy stuff. So I actually end up, I think, working less, but I'm really proud of everything I've done. So I've totally lost the thread here, but it was a really big challenge to do that, but I also felt like, well, people have done that, and people have done that very successfully. I found that I knew the script so well that it would almost have been harder to cast someone else as Sam and try to get them where I wanted them to be than to just step in and do it. And the big problem was we shot it in 23 days, or 22 days, and time constraints. You guys like time constraints? And it was, I had this little monitor for playback, and I would do, like, we shot on the Red camera, which is a great digital high-def camera, and so I rarely cut. Like, I would just keep the camera rolling, because then the DP futzes with the lighting, and the costume people come in and yank on your clothes, so I just kind of kept the camera going, and I would direct in between scenes. Kate Mara always jokes that I was like, in the midst of it, I'd be like, okay, I need the kiss to be slower and deeper and longer. But I really did, but she thinks that I was like being some creepy guy. So I would run back and watch the little monitor, and sometimes I would see, like, I would just watch 2 takes and I'd go, okay, I know we have it, or I'd turn to my producer, even the script supervisor, and I'd say, do we have, and I'd have to ask what we were looking for, because we'd have a hard out of the location that we'd have to go. So it was intensely difficult, but it was also really fulfilling in a way that I've never had anything be that creatively fulfilling. I seem to do well with like too much on my plate, because then I if I didn't show up like as an actor and a director and also as the writer, like down with the ship, like we're going down. Like I had to be away. I had to be on time, which was like I'm not super pumped.
The first day of filming was the scene at the editor's office when he brings Rasheen to the meeting, and I was on set that day, and Josh, through the whole pre-production, completely confident, knew the script, was like, one of the great collaborators, like heard of no, processed it, found it, or said no, that doesn't work. And I think I stepped away and I came back, and he was pacing the hallway. He looked incredibly nervous. I mean, I thought he was going to throw up. And he was basically getting in character when he's nervous, running through the hallways looking for Rasheen.
No, I don't think that's what was happening.
Oh, then you tell me.
What was happening was, okay, we tried to schedule Charlie and Mary Catherine for the first 3 days so I could not act for the first 3 days, but there was a scheduling conflict with Zoe and Pablo, and they got bumped to later in the week. So I was in every scene of the first 3 or 4 days. And my very first time directing, I was directing Academy Award nominee Richard Jenkins, and like literally the first thing I directed. And I was so intimidated. We had the same agent, so he did a favor to be in the movie, and he's the nicest guy in the world. But I was legitimately terrified. But I realized that the kind of accidental brilliance of the scheduling of that, because that day I'm intensely terrified. And it completely worked because I was terrified that day. So it was just one of those like stars lining up moments. I'm not smart that I was getting into character.
I was crediting you with your terror.
No, you made me look cooler than I am and like more thorough. I was legitimately like overwhelmed, and I didn't really feel until later in the first week was when I really felt like, oh, okay, I get this a little bit. Before it was just like, help. Cinematographer, what do we do? I'm overstating things, but it did feel, that first day was really overwhelming.
You were multitasking.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about casting, particularly. I mean, everybody, but I'm sure Rasheen would be interesting for people to hear how you find.
Why not Rasheen?
No, I'm saying in particular.
Oh, in particular,
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to hear about
Yeah,
Rasheen?
that's bearing the lead, right?
Yeah. Do you want to talk? I can talk about that.
You talk about that.
Okay. I have two great casting directors, Suzanne Smith Crowley and Jessica Kelly. I named the book publishing house Smith Crowley after my casting director. I was just trying to think of a good publishing house name, and I saw her name and I was like, Smith Crowley Books. It just sounded so good. But they, the biggest thing for the casting, I needed to cast Charlie and Mary Catherine. Tony Hale had done a reading for me as Sam number 2, and after that I was like, who else is going to do that role? He was really brilliant, and we didn't know if that was going to work out scheduling-wise, so I auditioned a couple people, and it was I realized what a tricky role it was and why he was so perfect, because if in the wrong hands, that part can seem like a creepy stalker, but there's something so deeply lovable about that guy. Kate, I cast based on her work. We'd actually met about Mary Catherine, weirdly, when the role of Mississippi was weirdly out to Mullen. The whole thing, and Mullen had read the script and fell in love with Annie, but Annie was out to someone else who fell out in pre-production, so it was like this big game of musical chairs. Kate I cast, then Mullen really fought for the role of Annie, which I didn't know she could do, and I'm so happy. That was just an amazing example of an actor saying, give me a chance for this, and she is so brilliant in the movie, and so that all worked out great. And I also didn't know Kate Mara could sing when I cast her. That's really her singing, which was another one of those weird, perfect things. So with the role of Rasheen, I knew that if he didn't get the right kid, that storyline just wouldn't work. And I had described him as, in the script, as having 1,000-year-old eyes. And one of the jokes of the script is that Sam, except for not wanting to swear around him for some weird reason, makes he doesn't acknowledge that he's talking to a 6-year-old or however old he is. He just talks to him like he's a contemporary. He doesn't simplify his language or anything. And I wanted the audience, to feel like the kid understands him for whatever reason. So it came down to 2 kids. I went up, I thought we were going to have to really scour the streets. I didn't know, if it was going to be an actor. I thought we'd find some kid in a playground, which is weird to go up to kids in the playground. It's like, sir, what are you doing here? You're going to have to leave. But they found this kid, Michael Algieri, and there was another kid who was just also break your heart adorable. His name was Hunter Fly. And I really thought Hunter Fly was going to be the kid, and then my casting directors watched both tapes, and they're like, it's not a question, you have to watch Michael's tape, and I did, and I was like, oh, yeah, amazing. And then Jesse, I said, I'm casting Michael, and Jesse thought Hunter Fly was the coolest name in the world, and he said, well, you can cast Michael as long as I can call him Hunter Fly. But Michael was, he had done a TV movie and a few commercials and modeling. And he has this great mom who completely stayed out of the way, which is a big deal when you're casting kids. You told me that, you're also casting the parents. And he was unbelievable and so smart, and just got better and better and better. If you watch the dailies, which you have no reason to do, but I had him say, "You're my best friend," 3 separate ways. One where he's looking at me, one where he's looking down, and something else. And I just he did it, and then I just turned to the camera, he just was breaking my heart by the end. The scene in the police car. He just has this quiet stillness about him, and this kind of elegance. He's really special. I can tell how much he's connected with the audience when we show the credits, and his picture comes up. He always gets the wildest applause, which I love. Yeah, working with kids, and he was just. It was a stroke of great good fortune to be able to find him.